Hi, everyone. It's Mike Riley here with Wealth Health. One of the questions I had that was a follow up to my spring cleaning video from a few weeks back was about beneficiary designations on insurance. And the question was, why would I need to check that? What could possibly change? That's a great question, and a lot of people are not aware of it if they don't have a review on a regular basis. Uh, Things do change over time, and sometimes it's important to determine whether the beneficiary designation on your insurance policies is still relevant as to when you received it or when you took the policy out. There's two main areas that we focus on beneficiary designations. The first is the primary beneficiary, that is the person or entity that receives the death benefit at the claim time. And the second would be contingent. This would be somebody who would receive the beneficiary if the primary beneficiary is no longer able to take it, or in fact they've passed away. But let's focus on the primary. There's two status. One would be revocable, and the other, of course, would be irrevocable. And they mean exactly what you think, that a revocable beneficiary is someone who you, as the owner, can change as your circumstances change. And irrevocable is someone who's assigned as the beneficiary, and that can't be changed. But let's take a look at revocable. There's three main types of primary revocable beneficiary designations. The most common is a spouse. So if you've taken out insurance to pay off a mortgage, end of life costs, any debts, any education funding for children, and any ongoing income for that spouse, you would normally have the spouse. Now, why would this change? Well, the biggest one would be divorce. If you become divorced, you don't have to change your beneficiary designation. In fact, you may want to keep it, especially if your spouse would still be responsible for the children if you died. But in some cases, divorce leads to there no longer being an insurable interest on behalf of that one spouse. So you may want to change that beneficiary designation. I see this all the time where someone has been divorced for 5 or more years, and they still have a spouse on as the beneficiary as of their insurance, and they sometimes change that. Uh, the next would be a parent, that you've assigned a parent as a beneficiary. I see this in cases where a child had an insurance policy taken out on them by their parent, and the parent was the owner, and the expectation was that if the child died, then the parent would receive the death benefit to help with costs of funerals and any income replacement for time taken off for grieving. But over time, that child is now grown to be an adult, and the parent no longer has an insurable interest in that individual. So why would you uh, provide a death benefit to your parent? Or you've now gotten married, you'd like to make your spouse your beneficiary, or the parent, the original beneficiary, is now dead, and there's no point in having them on. So if you do not change the primary beneficiary and it's a parent and that parent has died, if you die, then your estate just becomes the beneficiary of the insurance, and then it becomes subject to tax. So we might want to reassign. And the third one would be a child. So again, this is a situation where you took insurance out. It's now years later, and your spouse is either you've become divorced or the spouse has passed away. You may want to assign your child as the beneficiary of your insurance, so that that child can it becomes part of their estate, and it doesn't go through the will and subject to taxation. So those are the three main primary revocable beneficiary designations. Take a look and see, does that still make sense if that's what my insurance is like? And the last is a contingent. Now, a contingent isn't necessary, but a lot of clients find benefit in there being a contingent. And as I said earlier, a contingent beneficiary is just someone who receives your death benefit in the event that the primary beneficiary has predeceased you and we didn't get a chance to meet to change any of that. Prime contingent beneficiaries usually are children. So if my spouse and I have insurance and we die together, or we die close to one another, I want to make sure that my children receive the death benefit without it going through the estate. Another would be other family members. So my brother or my sister would receive the death benefit in the event that that I die and my spouse dies, or whoever was my primary beneficiary on that. You could also have a charity, and we'll talk in another video about charitable donations through life insurance. This one you can assign maybe a percentage, so 50% to one, 50% to another, and they're also revocable and can be changed at any time. So I hope that answers some of the questions about why I would look at taking ensuring that the beneficiary designations on my insurance are up to date, and have a good conversation about why I would want to assign one or more individuals on that. So thanks very much for those follow-up questions. I look forward to providing more information to you in the future about your insurance and your investments. So Mike Riley with Wealth Health, helping you gain altitude and gain confidence.